It should be going live in the group right now. Setting up your webinar. All right. I always love how long it takes. It's fantastic. Just like, okay, like we had this all set up. Like, why is this now taking forever?
Oh no, it's on. It's on. We're there.
We're there. We're good. We're all set up.
Oh, it's on.
Awesome sauce, then, brother.
I just hit a like on it and everything. Sweet.
You even liked it? Oh man. All right, Paul. Well, this is your group, man. So you take the lead, brother.
Okay, cool. Anyway, everybody in the group in the passive income and affiliate marketing for entrepreneurs with me, Paul Motley. Today I am joined with Parker Woodward. Now, this guy, I've been recommended him, friend for a friend, and apparently this guy is the guy to talk to about podcasts. So, Parker, tell me a little bit about what podcasts are for a start, a little bit about how you got started in it and why we should all get one. Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. So it's really interesting. The way that I got started with podcasting actually is, so my dad is Dave Woodward, ClickFunnels. He's the chief revenue officer, I think is what his official title is. He's basically he does a whole bunch of hats in the community. And one of the hats he had with ClickFunnels originally actually was doing the podcast. So the Funnel Hackers Radio, ClickFunnels Radio originally, then changed it back and forth. And he created this thing. He's just like, I need some help like creating all the show notes and the busy work. I was a high school student at the time. So I was like, sure, I'd love to be able to make some quick money. So I did that, was like making a good like 10, 15 bucks every week with that, was making fantastic money. And it was super awesome being able to do that for him. And then one thing led to another, and then more people came to me. They're like, hey, I need help with podcasting. And I just literally picked up the shovel as it came and learned one thing after another. Now I've helped people to get in the top 30 podcasts in their respective category. It's been super cool, super amazing.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a super cool thing.
Yeah, that's amazing. I didn't get the connection with the surname to start with.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, well, I hoping everybody got on the Facebook Live. Let us know down below if you guys can't hear us. Yeah. And then to answer your other question as far as what podcasting really is.
We're good. No, so yeah.
No, so I'm sorry.
You can do it.
Okay.
I'm just
awesome.
Like them up.
But no, so what podcasting is, it's the amazing opportunity to really connect with your audience. And before it was this kind of platform, you just kind of like you chit chat type thing. You've heard people go on podcasts, just talk about life, talk about cold case files, about all these amazing things. However, it's an amazing opportunity that people like, Russell Brunson, Dean Graziosi, and even, gosh, I'm thinking about other people's names. Can't think of them right now. Tony Robbins, everybody have used them. And Alex Sharpin also have used them to craft amazing audiences and connection with them, to be able to shorten the sales cycle for their podcast, not for their podcast, shorten the sales process for their business and for each of their audience.
Yeah. So, I mean, realistically, the way that I see podcasts is because I like reading books, but sometimes it's just so much easier to listen because, you can be out and about, you can be doing practically anything. You've got a pair of these in and you can hear stuff, you can learn stuff. And that's where I kind of like looking at podcasting thinking, do you know what? This is more accessible than what people think, because you don't have to be like, if you wanted to watch a webinar, for example, you got to be in front of a screen. Or if you want to, do some sort of like training, you got to be on your computer. Whereas with the podcast, it's kind of like everywhere. It's almost like what the iPhone was invented for. Okay. Right. You think back to many years ago when Steve Jobs brought out the iPod and he came out and went, here we go. Here's like 100,000 hours of audio right on this little device here. This is actually, the whole thing was that it started the transference, if you like, to putting podcasts out there together. So it's a huge thing. And I don't think people quite realize and understand just how important this thing is. And it could be for their business as well. So, I mean, the fact that you guys are doing it and you're teaching how people to do it is amazing. So that's, I'm super pumped about it. I'm very excited.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Even Gary Vaynerchuk spoke at a ClickFunnels event, and one of the main things he talked about in that space was the fact of how big audio is getting. It's in everybody's hands and stuff like that. And like you said, it's one of the most preferred ways of consuming information even now. So it's been super cool.
Oh, that's cool. So what would you say, we're going to get into like the whole sort of webinar style now. So if you were going to present sort of like 3 things that people, or that you could like completely smash out there, what would you say to people, sort of like what's the most common misconception about a podcast?
Man, the most common misconception about podcasting, I would definitely have to throw it to the fact that people say they don't have enough content. That is the biggest thing that everybody gets wrong type thing, because it's the fact that they feel like they don't have enough to say. And that's entirely not the case. The reality is they don't know what they should say. So that's the right frame of mind to have for that type of thing, because there's so many things that you have as far as information goes.
Okay.
You have all your products, you have all of your things, you have every little aspect of your value ladder is all about like your expertise, and you know everything that your client needs to do. You also know everything they don't need to do. So in respect to like how to create more content type thing and how to destroy that false belief, is you really need to break down what the heck your customer's journey is and where you fit inside of that journey, where you want to insert yourself into that. If you want to be the ones who take them, okay, this is how I get introduced to the world of affiliate marketing. If it's podcasting, if it's funnel building, if it's health, wealth, relationship, whatever the heck it is, you're able to take them into that and be like, okay, like here's where you are. And this is how I'm going to get you to the next place you want to be. So biggest thing that people get wrong with it is the fact that they feel like they don't have enough content to create.
Sure. One of the things that I thought about, so I was thinking a bit about this today. I thought, I'm getting to this guy, I'm talking about podcasting. I know literally about this much about podcasting right now. So, and I just thought, what, the more I think about it, the more it actually taps into a lot of things, because we talked about the whole iPod thing, but also as well, you ever notice when people are selling sort of like courses or softwares and stuff like that, which requires video, and they would go, oh, don't worry, you don't have to be on video yourself. People really don't like being on video. That's the thing that people forget. They don't like being on video, so they end up doing these sort of like keynote sort of presentations or slides, and then they just talk over the top of it. The podcast kind of like eliminates that problem that people have of putting themselves on camera, because people will say, oh, I've got face for radio and stuff like that, so this kind of like breaks down those barriers that people normally put in front of themselves that stop them from publishing content. So do you not think that's like kind of like a massive leap forward to like opens up the floodgates to more and more people getting into podcasting rather than struggling and really putting off creating content for like YouTube or Facebook Lives because they just don't want to see themselves on camera. They cringe up, they don't know what to say, they don't know what to do. And I think it's going to be a massive thing going forward. So yeah, it's amazing.
Oh no, totally. A lot of people have that terrible misconception of the fact that like, oh, I don't have a face for being on the main person in front of all this type of stuff. And that's one of the great things about podcasting, right? You just have to have a radio face, basically. No one has to see your face at all. You just have to have an okay listen to voice and a decent microphone.
Yeah, and that's it. And also as well, when you're talking about that as well, because I was looking on Facebook earlier on, and there was this guy going on about another platform that he was using, and he was getting some slightly negative feedback from people, because people are cruel these days. They'll just slam comments and stuff talking about his voice, and you think, okay, well, look around, look through all that. We have a very distinct voice and very distinct accents, things like that. It's never stopped them. You could even listen to like Gary Vee, for example. He has a very distinct accent and a distinct voice. Okay, but people listen to him. So I don't think that's like a huge thing. People say, oh, well, I don't pronounce too well, or people won't quite understand what I'm saying, things like that. That's just, that's your perception of yourself. That's not everyone else's perception. If what you've got to give them is good enough, then it doesn't matter what you sound like. That's my opinion anyway. So I think that's it's a great thing. And also as well, it can also become almost like your thing. Do you know what I mean? I listened to Paul the other day. He sounds weird because he's from England, right? So, he's got a strange accent, and he says stuff like, weird catchphrases and stuff like that. Okay, yeah. Right. So, and then you can focus in on that, or you can focus in on someone else that might be from a different country. They might have a real like heavy Italian accent, or a heavy Spanish accent, or a heavy Scottish or Irish accent. It doesn't matter. It's the content and what's going through. But of course, you can also use that to your advantage because it becomes your identity as well. So people will start identifying and getting to listen to that. I mean, I've listened to a lot of audiobooks, and some of them just drone on and on and on. But then you get other ones which have got like a more of an interesting twang to the voice, and I'll listen to that intently. So, it's really cool. I like the podcasting idea. I think it's awesome. So I just wanted to ask about this whole thing. There was, we all know about the One Funnel Away challenge. We all know about this challenge, or we've heard these various connotations of it, like the one recently, one group away challenge. And now we've got the one podcast away challenge. Is that right? Is that your thing?
Yeah. So our that's exactly what Evans Putman and I actually teamed up, and I met him at we met face to face actually at a ClickFunnels event, and it was one of those things as far as just like the one funnel away challenge, like really like changed my life. It changed my ability to understand, like, okay, like what's an offer, how to create these types of things, what's a funnel, how to create the best type of funnel, what should it look like, what you put, what's the headlines, every type of those things. And then Russell Brunson was up on a stage. He talked about the one funnel away challenge, and then he said something about podcasts, and that you need to have roughly like 365 episodes before you find your voice, or you have basically you're able to make money from it. And that was one of the biggest things that I'm like, that's not true at all. Actually, what you're able to do is in 4 weeks, you're able to create a platform that's going to allow you to make money within the first 60 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
and
awesome.
It's one of,
so what I'm guessing what you guys have done, if you guys have put something together to help people do all this, is that what you're aiming for?
Exactly. Yeah, it's exactly what it is. And so we've broken down exactly the one funnel away challenge is. It's broken into those 4 weeks. It's broken into like, okay, like what do you like the first week, the second, the third week, the fourth week? And we've basically taken that format type thing and turned it exactly on its side for podcasting. We've taken out a lot of the stuff that it talks about because funnels and podcasts, there's some places that don't quite mesh up. So we made sure we took out everything we didn't need and basically placed the fact that there's really 4 things that you need to focus on when creating a podcast. Creating a podcast platform, you need to know what your mindset is with a podcast, making sure you have expectations to the fact of, hey, I'm going to be helping people. I'm going to be changing people's lives, this information type thing. And I need to remember that like I am going to have some serious what is it? Gosh, I'm like totally mind blanking on what it's called. But it's basically the fact of like the insecurity, the fact that I'm not good enough, that I can't do this type thing, and I don't deserve to do this. Imposter syndrome. That's what it is. Dang it.
That's it.
Yeah. That's one of the biggest things we're helping people to get over with.
Of course it is. Yeah, and I had the opportunity to write a chapter in a book recently, and I was sat there with like a limit of I think it was like 1,500 words. And to begin with, 1,500 words sounded a lot. Okay, it really sounded a lot. And then I just happened to be on a train and I just started typing out stuff and everything just flowed out. All the stuff like that that you keep to yourself.
Oh, totally.
Just because at the end of the day, a lot of this stuff is worth, is extremely valuable information. And you can't just throw it away to the masses because it'll not only become saturated, because it will devalue it as well. Because if it was just available to everybody, then it's not valuable anymore. And so I just started to, do you know what? I'm just going to put everything in, and then I just thought, okay, right. Well, people are going to go and have to buy this, but they're going to have to put some sort of commitment into it. And of course, there's going to be opportunities to promote my own stuff within that chapter as well. So I figured, well, why not? Next thing I know, the 1,500 words was never enough. And then you started to but right at the beginning, as soon as I'd said I was going to do this, I sweated for about 4 weeks before I actually started writing a single word, because I thought no one is going to want to listen to what I've got to say. No one is going to take any value from it. And, that whole imposter syndrome, it kicked in big time, and it just kept kicking me. And
exactly,
it's trying to get over that and trying to get past that so that you can actually think, no, I have had some people say that they enjoyed what I was doing. I have had some good feedback. I've got some testimonials, so this is it's all a learning process. But I'm really excited about this whole One Podcast Away thing. I think it's bang on. It is bang on.
So that's that's the exact thing you're talking about, as far as you feel like, gosh, I don't think I should share this. I don't think that I should be putting this out there. I'm not ready to share it type thing. That's one of the biggest things we help people to kind of break through. In that first week, we have the exact type way that the One Funnel Away challenge is set up, as we have the live Facebook calls as well. So we have the training we're going to be giving to everybody that's pre-recorded for everybody to kind of take in. Evans talks a lot about how he was able to help somebody to get to basically $500,000 just from the podcast that they made in less than a year. Basically, it was just amazing scenarios able to help this guy get to. Oh, seriously, super, super cool. Yeah, just that high bar. Yeah, and through being able to do that, there's a lot of stuff he had to break through in his own mindset.
It does sound pretty awesome.
Yeah, seriously. And so we were able to break through that. We made sure
when you actually think about it, the way that, it's how I'm just getting a little bit overexcited about this thing now. because the more I keep thinking about it, the more I keep looking at it, thinking to myself, I need to get on this, right? I even went as far as started designing my own sort of like, like you have to have a thumbnail.
Yeah.
I started like working through that. I was on Canva earlier on. I literally had like a 10-minute break between work earlier on, and I just started shoving it out there. I thought, that looked good like that. Or which font should I put on this one? And all this sort of thing. And I started doing it, and I'm buying into it. The more and more we speak, I'm buying into it.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be super cool, man. I'd love to figure out how to actually get on that. I was thinking that the link would be on your profile there, but I'm struggling. Where is it? Is it on your profile or not? Where can people
link?
Find it?
Is it not on my profile? Yeah. I'll make sure I drop it right in the comments down below for you then. It should have been on there. I'm so sorry, dude.
Yeah, that's it.
So OnePodCastAway.com is what it is.
OnePodCastAway.com.
Yeah. There you go.
Right. Hang on, just OnePodCastAway.com. Cool. Right. Yeah. So I am now on the funnel. Look, this is here. This is right there.
There it is. There's my video and everything for it. It was super cool though, because as I dropped this idea to Evans, and he was like, "Oh, that'd be super cool to be able to do that type thing. I'd love to get on and do it with you." And so we worked together. We're comprising this entire like funnel. We're comprising everything we're gonna be doing inside the actual course. And he just drops this like amazing value bomb on the fact that I'm just gonna give away one of my courses for free in this thing. It's like over $1,000 worth of value in this one thing that he was able to do. And on top of that, I was able to throw in a lot of my stuff type thing as far as the coaching calls and everything we're gonna be helping people through. Because that's one of the biggest things people have, is they have this huge idea as far as this podcast, and it intimidates the heck out of them. You're doing you're creating the thumbnail for it. And even that, I'm pretty sure you're like, okay, what about this or this? Or like, why not this? Or like, why not like have like the title here or like this picture? And it can get like overwhelming because you're so excited and you don't know what's the most important thing. So that's one of the most important things we thought we'd be able to do, is be able to.
I love fun. I love funnels, by the way. I'm just like checking out your funnel right now. This is my thing. I totally geek out on it. I think in my ClickFunnels account, I have like 272 funnels in there or something like that. It's ridiculous. I just can't stop building them. Really cannot stop building them. Yeah. But I love the way this is put together. Actually, it's like really, really nicely designed. It looks pretty smart. I wouldn't doubt it for a second that you're going to get a sign up as soon as we finish this, right? So that's going to be me filling it out earlier in the next minute. So that's super cool. And not only that as well. So I'm just looking through what you guys have put together here, right? Okay, so it's not free. There has to be a value attached to this, and it also gets rid of people which are, that are just in for grabbing free information. I mean, it's still weird to me right now that people will buy courses, they'll buy stuff, but 80% of those people will not actually follow through with it, even though they bought it. So
totally.
You've got to put a decent amount on. You've got to put a decent amount on there to get people interested enough to do it. So I'm just looking at this here. I love it all. Love that. There's only 57 spots available. How many spots available? So how many you got left? That's
how many left? We have, so the challenge is basically starting this Friday, actually, is when it's officially going to go live and everything like that. So we're running down to the end of the wire with it. And the last time I checked, I think we had about 10 people had already bought in. So you only have about 47 to 46 places left, depending on, some people were getting in and out of the cart type thing. And it was one of those amazing, like super cool things of the fact of like, okay, we're going to have to make sure this is like small. We have to make sure this is like really like one-on-one type thing, because we're making sure that like, we break down every single, like every person's like false belief inside the Facebook group we're going to be doing for everybody. Like this is going to be like our huge like project we're going to be doing. We're hoping to be able to help a whole bunch of people to be able to launch and to relaunch their podcast. That's one of the huge things that people that get in like huge trouble with, is they create this podcast and they get like 1 or 2 episodes out and then it drops. Like, to throw a statistic out there, like roughly 70% of podcasts stop after the first year. This huge number type thing.
Why do you think that is? Why are they doing that?
So the reason that happens is because so the reason that happens is definitely through it's what's known as pod fade. So basically, like you stop being consistent with your content strategy. So one of the biggest things with that and the hardest parts is the fact that like so many people, they create this idea for this podcast, and after launch they have no idea where it's going. So that's one of the main things that we want to make sure we focus with people is, okay, this is what your expertise is. And this is like how we're going to be able to break that down into this is what your message is for your podcast and like how you're going to launch it. How you're going to make sure that enough people are in the podcast to keep you motivated to continue publishing. And that's like a huge thing we break down with people is like the content strategy of like, we're going to plan out for you in this challenge for $97. We're going to basically help you break down the next 3 months of content for you guys, which some people charge roughly, like $200-$300 for it.
A lot of money. In fact, it's recent that I've seen something else, which was, trying to think, it was in the thousands. It was definitely in the thousands. And you think to yourself, okay, well, this is like super good. It's dirt cheap, right? The value included in this, and it can be multiplied out over time as well. You just got to think, okay, well, the way I look at anything is how much it costs me now, what can it get me in the future? Okay, so
totally, yeah.
Whenever I'm looking at something, I always think, okay, well, look at it from a personal point of view, but then if I'm selling something, I'm thinking, right, well, what is the customer going to get? And then the whole thing, what's in it for me concept, do go, okay, right, well, you need to write it like that. So tell them what they're going to get, tell them what it's going to mean to them, tell them what they're going to hopefully be able to achieve without obviously guaranteeing results and things like that, because no one can do, because it's down to the individual. I mean, you only got to look at the ClickFunnels affiliate program, for example. There is a lot of affiliates out there, and there's an awful lot of affiliates which do nothing. Okay, and there is a few affiliates, or quite a few affiliates which do something but don't get the results and then give up. And there are those few which actually are consistent and they do get the results and they get the rewards for it as well. So I'm going to be signing up for this now, because this is actually only a quarter of the ClickFunnels commissions of today. So I should be getting that. So that's cool.
Yeah, that's super awesome. We got ourselves another person in it, which means there's even less tickets for everybody else. Is the main thing with that.
I know. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
I'm probably gonna download this whole video and repurpose it out to everybody to try and get as many people on there as possible. Obviously, I don't want anyone. Obviously, I don't want anyone else to buy it because I'm greedy and I want all the information for me. But I'm just gonna.
And you actually asked a really good question, though, the fact of like, how is this like, what is it really going to help people to be able to do? And one of the main things, it's going to help people to have like the purpose and the reason for why they're podcasting. So like for you right now, Paul, like if you were to create a podcast, like who would it be for? Who would it serve?
For me personally, right now, you put me on the spot, aren't you?
Throwing it right at you, man.
Oh man, see now this is where it all goes out the window. For me, it's all about affiliate marketing, passive income, stuff like that. So I always found that there's a lot of guff out there. There's a lot of misinformation, and sometimes it's so easy to just go, right, well, I'm going to tell you how to do this if you buy this from me, and it will just be like, no, this is how I see other people doing it, and this is what I see working for me as well. And I think if you did the same steps as what I'm doing, then it can work for you. So exactly. It's kind of like more like that. And of course, at the end of the day, there's, as far as I know, there's no buy now button on a podcast. I don't know. It could be, but I'm guessing that's not how it works. So
it's one of those main things that we help people to set up as far as basically turning your podcast and this platform you're able to really to sell to people. Not in the fact of just like, hey, like dropping this $997 course type thing, but you're definitely able to push people to the fact of like, hey, like this is like what I'm offering, and I can't help you a whole lot here. But if you want even more, I have the exact place I'm able to help you guys to invest in yourselves and be able to get to the next spot. And that's the best thing in the whole purpose you do podcasting, helping people to invest in themselves, to take that leap into doing the next thing. You talked a lot about affiliate marketing, and I could tell that's your zone of genius. That's where you can you step out in front of everybody else, like you geek over funnels type thing. So one of the main things, if you were to create a podcast, would be able to do is to give people that sense of community, of the fact of like, hey, like we're affiliate marketers. Like we crush it. Like we make sure we get other people's messages out there, so we can help people to step into their dream state, their own dream destination. And it's finding what that dream destination is for people that allows you to really identify with why the heck I'm doing this. Because podcasting takes some time. It really does. My clients, they spend roughly, I'm a podcast manager myself. That's basically where I basically learn all this type of stuff, is through trial and error on my end. And I've been able to help people to be able to take their podcast time down to like basically 1 to 2 hours a week they spend. to be able to impact at least hundreds of people every single week. And it's super amazing helping them be able to do this. And the messages they get, they're like, hey, you not only helped me to pass this exam, to lose this much weight, to earn this much money, but you were able to help me to do that. So I'm able to help my own family. And that's the coolest thing and the best part about podcasting, because it breaks down that wall between you and like the expert and the client, where it becomes this part of just like, hey, like I'm going to be able to help you to do whatever it is that you want to succeed at.
Oh, man,
and it's this, awesome. It's this amazing feeling at every time my clients send me one of those pictures. It's the greatest thing ever. It fills me with the fact like that's the freak why I'm doing this stuff. Like this is so cool.
Oh man, this is sweet. Listen, we're almost out of time here now because I've got some more calls to get on, but I am definitely going to be signing this up right away. I'm going to download this whole thing and I'm going to push it back out. I'm going to contact a few people that I know that I think would be super interested in this. And yeah, I can't wait to get started on the 1st of November. And if anybody else is watching this on the replay, which be more people than not, because not everyone's available time, then I definitely get in on this. It sounds like an immense opportunity, and it's something you can really like. It's different, okay? It's not that everybody's doing it. There's a lot of opportunity to get your message out there, and you know this guy's going to help us out doing it. So why not?
Yeah, this is one of the things I love to do for sure. And as well, if anybody out there needs an affiliate link to be able to sell to other people,
cool. Are you still there?
Make sure to send it over to us. Yeah, sounds great, man.
Cool. Okay. Excellent, man. Right, we'll finish off the call, and yeah, looking forward to it. Awesome.
Sounds great, man. We'll see y'all later.
Yeah.
And